dynamics there. Some things started working better, some things started working worse. So and depending which group of tasks you were working on, you will experience either improvements or the misbehavior of the system. Yeah.
I was just thinking out loud because I haven't had the opportunity, the luxury to join these meetings lately. So just sharing my thoughts.
No, definitely. On some projects, I was seeing, okay, this works better, but in some other, because I'm switching between different work, it was, not behaving so good. So yeah, and I needed to change the default thinking to increase it.
Absolutely.
That's something that I started doing with the 4.6 because it will default to the middle thinking. Then I need to high. Now that even extra high is not good enough. Sometimes I need to switch it to a higher tier.
Ultra think.
Or to trigger ultra think keyword when needed. Yeah.
Yes. I had to do a full restart. I had like 5 different VPNs running, and it was like, everything just crashed.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it seemed like you were sucked into a different reality at one point. So
the old crash right before you're about to do a live cast routine is always entertaining. All right, how's everyone doing today?
Good.
Am I coming through okay?
I don't have my
all good.
I don't have my seat, so I'm not happy, but I'm okay.
Oh, it's in order. It's in order of in order of the orders we got, with sometimes a little push from me to certain people. So just
no, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. I never ordered it, so it's my fault.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's lower down on the priority list.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, you'll get one regardless, because I think that was awesome. All right, I snuck it right at the last moment here, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna get some more stickers. It's a startup, like it's amateur hour, but we're getting our act together pretty quickly. We got a great team. Dragon's been helping Nick and the whole, Rob, and it's been a wild ride over the last few weeks. The nascent state of a startup is always it's fun. All right. I now gotta get everything going. So I've got. I was just going to, well, actually, how's everyone doing? How you doing, Rob?
Good. A little out of the loop over the last few days, but otherwise good.
Oh, and I heard about what happened, and just want to send my respects, and
cheers.
Yeah. All right. So the weather isn't so great here in Canada at the moment. I think I saw like flurries outside of my window here. So anyone that's in Canada, or at least Toronto, anyways,
threatening a turn for the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the nicest time. All right, so it's been an interesting. A lot of the most popular agent systems we're seeing, like that. What's that one? Hermes. You look at it, it's self-learning agent system built in Python. Kind of, I've been there, literally. What do I call that? RuFdev, like 2 years ago. But anyway, timing is everything sometimes, right? Anything you guys are catching your eye? Dragon, how's it going? What are you up to?
Except testing the seeds, I added also, following your example, I added plugin with a lean version of a couple of Agentic QA agents. So that's something deployed just a half an hour before the Vipecast. I cannot keep up with his pace still, but I'm trying.
Yeah, I do put out a lot, and the craziest part is you guys don't even see the like work that I do for like clients, which is probably like, I don't know, 75% of my output. So you're literally only seeing 25% of what I put out. There's a much larger constellation of stuff that exists just beyond your vantage point. Yeah,
and this 25% is overwhelming as it goes. So it's quite enough.
All right. Well, let me show you this. I did plugins like months ago when they first came out, and they're like, it was a little cumbersome. But the Claude guys have improved their plugin system quite a bit since I first looked at it. And in fairness, I haven't looked at it in a few months. So this was my re-entry. Oh, somebody needs to give me sharing. I guess I'm not the host. And
Martin's
I don't
there.
think this is, and and we're not recording either. All right. Do you want me to log back in?
You should be good now.
Is someone recording it?
It is. It is recording.
I see cloud recording is on. Yeah.
I logged in with
it's recording. I'm on mobile, so I can't do much over here, but
okay.
I'll be home in a couple of minutes.
All right. So here's what I've got. So first things first. I've updated RuFlow. The RuFlow just keeps going. It's taken a bit of a life of its own on like TikToks and Instagram reels. People seem to like it on that, and that keeps the thing going. And it's better than ever, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so what I added here was I added the ability to add plugins. So the plugins are basically, I grouped a bunch of the functionality of the system into essentially skills, commands, and agents. And those form the basis of plugins that sit alongside the MCP core of the system. So basically the plugin delivers the GitHub repo and then allows you to essentially more intelligently interact with the system, and allows you to send updates to the core through other means than me trying to trick you into using the npx command, which is probably slow and not the best way to do it. So what this approach does, it says every time you create a new main deployment of your system, if you have the option to auto update, it'll just do that for you. And to do that, the first thing you're going to do is you're popping in this command, and there's a whole plugin system. I've already done it, but I'm just gonna do it anyway again, because you can do it more than once. So I'm just popping this in here and say marketplace add, and generally there's a few different ways you can handle this. Like if I wanted to do the Cognitum one, I don't necessarily have to give it the GitHub. I can give it a marketplace.json file. So basically you're giving a URL, and it can add it that way as well. And I do that for Cognitum, and I'll take a look at that in a minute. But in this particular scenario, what I'm doing is adding this. I've already added. If I hadn't already have added it, it would have shown a little screen, but I'm not removing it. I just had to reboot. So now I've got this installed. I can go into plugins, and now we can see the default plugins. I don't usually use other people's because I like to build my own stuff, but whatever. These are ones I've installed for MCPs, and here are my marketplaces. So now you have a RuFlow marketplace, and I can browse the plugins, update, enable auto update. You have to enable it. I get why they might not put that on by default. Could be a backdoor. So my suggestion, if you do use this particular feature, I probably wouldn't auto update unless you're totally confident in the person or company or organization or whatever that's giving you this plugin. So use at your own risk. I use this for me, so what do I care? It's this is built for my use. So if other people happen to use it, then it's great. All right, so then I get plugins. I've already installed most of them, but you can see to list them, and all these plugins do different things. So for example, Neural Trader, very popular approach and plugin. And now what this does is allows you to hook that into the loops and scheduling system. So if you want if we want to use something like that, now you've got these commands. So if I do something like neural or I do trader, you'll see I've got the trader, I got the trader risk, I got trader train, signal, regime, backtest, portfolio, and other things. And I can mix and match those with other features in the system. So let's say I might want to scale. Well, let's say I want to optimize my computer every hour. And so in this case, I might do loop 5 minutes and optimize. This is on my Mac Mini. You can see I'm connected to it. I use Tailscale. I've got a bunch of different computers I connect to and clouds and whatnot. So this I like the Mac Mini. It for doing like this type of work. The Mac sort of represents a nice broad piece of the overall user base, which for RuFlow is predominantly, well, I think something like 30 or 40% Mac Minis. So I build it in the same place that people use it, basically. So now I'm going to optimize my machine, memory, and storage. Now I'm going to run that every 60 minutes. 60 minutes, and I'm going to use RuFlow Agent DB for memory. So what I'm doing right now is I'm asking it to optimize my environment. Really simple task, right? I want my RAM to work. I don't want my system to crash right before a Zoom. So in this case, I'm just taking a look to see what's going on. Now once I've done that, I'm going to take a look at the seed that's attached. I'm going to show you that here in a minute. So I've got a seed attached to the system right now, and that's on IP 169. So what this does is acts as a kind of secondary sensor, like a agent sensor system. So when you think of the seed, it's the point closest to the signal that you're going to get. So if you're getting that signal from RF or other systems, or it's that point between the virtual world and the real world. Maybe that's the way I need to think about it, right? So you're getting the information that exists outside of the internet. So these are things, people walking around, temperatures, frequencies, vibrations, RF signals, all the things that exist outside of the internet. This provides the ability to gain access to those things. Now everyone's like, okay, what in the world does that mean? But I'll show you, create an app store to help. But what you're going to notice here, I'm running this is attached as a USB drive. So in this case, once you plug it in, and I'm on Windows here, but I'm kind of jumping between Windows and Mac. So in this scenario, we'll see if it ever loads here. This also loads as a drive, essentially. So you'd see like drive D on Windows or a mount on Mac that would say Cognitum. And then you could access this securely through that USB. So it's physically attached. Now, once you've set it up through the mesh, that creates a series. So each of these devices can kind of form its own connected network, and they can essentially communicate with one another. And that's a
You move to mute. Proof.
You mute yourself. Mute.
Nope. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, sorry, I threw me off. I'm not sure why I was muted for a sec. 1 sec. Let me catch my breath for a moment. All right. So I'm jumping around a little bit. I went back and I'm scheduling a loop using my plugin essentially to optimize my computer in this case. I'm just going to do it for this session only because I'm not sure I want to do it forever. So that menu you saw was a direct sort of result of the plugin, allowing me to understand the nuance of the thing I'm doing. So in the most simple terms, Claude is the UI. And when you think about Claude as the UI, it's for me in the way that I like to work, which is technical and programmatic. It gives me the ability to schedule and optimize across all these different machines and have it sort of work in these loops. The loop has gotten really good. So before we had that /loop option that I just showed you, in order to invoke a loop, I had to use background workers, right? Which are cron jobs. And those are agents that basically did the same thing, but it was cumbersome. And most people had to sort of work their way up to discover that they were a thing. Now, with the loop capability in Claude, we suddenly have the ability to define the interval and the prompt directly in Claude, both from the user interface that you're looking at here, but also from Claude from the point of view of the CLI. Now, the CLI is interesting because basically you can invoke these loops now directly in the CLI as a kind of process that kind of lives and can be monitored. Now, in that scenario, once you've got a living process that can be adjusted and understood and kind of reflect upon itself, learn and get better, you have the ability to apply that in a much easier sense, because it's just obvious. It's slash loop, and that's where something like a seed comes into play. All right, so let me go here. So in this case, one thing you need to look at is, work tree is useful. I use that a lot. There's where is it? There's a lot of stuff in here. Plugin directory. This is it. Okay, so if you're building your own plugin, if you use the plugin directory option, what this does is allows you to essentially have the system use its own plugin without having to publish the plugin, because you don't want to sort of, especially for me, if I start publishing before it's ready, people will start adding like tickets and issues, and it becomes a whole thing, and I'm really just developing it in public. So what this does is allows me to not have to do that, because otherwise I'd have to publish the plugin files, which look something like this, right? You've got marketplace JSON and all these files, and then those get imported. And every time you make an update, you have to re-import it, which is kind of a pain. So what this does essentially is allows you to point at the directory, in this case, the .claude plugin directory, and then it would just load that dynamically. Now, what's interesting about that as well is, because you can do that, you can dynamically insert the plugins as needed to specific agents that run outside of the sort of human user interface. Think of it like the agent itself, right? So if you're creating, let's say, a research agent that needs to run and research the latest stocks and bonds and whatever and correlate that, then that could then tie into a secondary agent that acts as the executor. It learns based on certain signals it's getting from the researcher that certain points need certain executions, good, bad, short, long, whatever it happens to be. That's how you load these, and you could create those as essentially similar to these, each in this plugin format. So the plugin format essentially has a whole variety of essentially agents, commands, and skills. So they're very similar to the structure I was using originally in the .claude folder: agents, commands, and skills, but now they're potentially dynamically updated or sort of added. So rather than having to add all this stuff you don't necessarily need, and let's be honest, a lot of the stuff in RuFlow is just overkill. You don't need it. So you can pick and choose just the bits and pieces that you need, so keeping the thing smaller. And one of the other things I did, because I'm lazy, I went and I created a plugin creator, because I think I always create a plugin creator for the plugins that I create. So this plugin creator essentially allows me to build other plugins. So it's a skill in commands and agents that are essentially optimized to create more skills and so on. So right now what I'm doing is, so I built a whole variety of these different plugins doing different things. So you see core, it's kind of the core commands, kind of obvious, but this is just the main sort of subcommands of the system. And then you can sort of selectively add different ones. I like the browser one. The browser allows me to basically traverse like a website. It logs in, it fills in forms, it does various things like that. It's nice. I use that quite frequently. Autopilot is for long horizon. So let's say you want something to run not over a day, but for weeks, or this hasn't existed for months. So saying that it's going to run for months or years is a stretch in a space that hasn't existed long enough for that to be a thing. But if it is a thing, this is how we would do it over an extended period. Like we're talking more than a year, but generally like quarters at a time at a minimum for the autopilot. What else we got here? So then I've got NeuroTrader, I've got a few others. There's a IoT. Where the heck did I put that? Internet of Things. So what this skill does, this skill allows us to interact with the seed device. So the seed device comes with a cog store. So a lot of people are like, well, I got this device. What the heck am I going to do with it? Now, there's as Dragon points out, there's a lot to test here. So, expect bugs. What can I say? We're a few weeks in, but this is the concept here is simple for me. The UI is Claude. So rather than going in here and creating all these sort of vibe coded, dashboards and whatnot, I figured that the people who were going to use the platform itself would then have the ability to create the applications for it. I didn't see myself as the person that was going to go and create all these applications. So what I wanted this to be was the sort of the core template of what you would need to build these types of applications on the device. But in terms of the UI, the business, the opportunities, those are yours, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I'm giving you the ability to basically point Claude at this and say, build me something amazing. So these are the sort of structures. So in each of them, you'll see things like breathing rates and heart rates or anomaly score. So you can mix and match these. And we've also got a dense pose implementation using RuView if you want to do some interesting things. So lots of mixing and matching. So what you're doing in this case is you're going in and essentially you're asking Claude, right? So now you've got Claude, and we can go back here where I gotta find my way back. All right, where did I'm gonna leave that one for a sec. And so what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna go switch. I'm gonna say review the seed API. And now I've got a couple places I can do that. So I've got the Cognitum developer portal, and I just put this together. And back to creating a ton of crazy stuff. So I've created all the sort of SDKs for the system, right? So we've got Python, we've got JavaScript Node, and we've got Rust, and we've got a Claude Code plugin. So the Claude Code plugin essentially does exactly what I was showing. Well, not exactly, but it does a similar approach to what I was showing you in for RuFlow, but it does it for Cognitum instead. So in this case, I'm using the marketplace approach, and this is what's interesting. So rather than using the GitHub, I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to put the GitHub yet. So the website approach seemed like an easier one to use. Let's take a look at that file for a sec. So in this case, we've got it's a schema file built in it's JSON or whatever, and so we got the plugin manifest. You've got the different parts. So it's quite a bit to it, needless to say. So what happens here is I can take this, copy this, and put it here. Now I'm just gonna do. Well, actually, I'm gonna go lazy and actually grab the code that tells me to do it here. Here we go. Pop that in here. All right, so now I added it. And so now once I've added it, I can go to plugins, plugins, and then I'm gonna go to marketplaces. Now I see Cognitum. Great. Now I got 106 of those. One of the thing I might group these, or I got to think about 106 seems a little bit too much, and the reason it's too much is there's no search, so you actually have to just go up and down in their user interface to basically get it to find what you're looking for. But in this case, we got adversarial, and now these all correlate back to what I was showing you earlier in a cog store. So, we've got neurotraders and audit loggers and beehive monitors. The acoustic hive state detects healthy, chaotic, queenless swarming via hum band energy. What this one does is you put a ESP32 sensor and a seed next to a next to like a beehive, and it'll tell you the state of the beehive, its health, whether there's a queen. It can actually do various types of vibrations and harmonics and other things to help manage the beehive, which is interesting. This one's baby cry detection. So basically, you can use that for I don't know, a baby monitor, I guess. So I've got 100 of these, 106 apparently. Cardiac arrhythmia, clean room, customer flow. This one's kind of cool. Like, this counts the foot traffic bidirectionally at entry and exit points with time series data for peak analysis and conversion tracking. So that would be like, you're in a store, let's say grocery store, and you're tracking the foot patterns, and you can track the coming and going and locations of different people in the system. Now, there's a question, I suppose, that would arise from that one, in the fact that once you have a certain signature, you can detect the same person again based on the biosignature of those people through the system. So I wouldn't see you in the way that a picture would show you, but I would see you in the way that a electrical signal and structure that sort of takes through you creates a field and sort of unique fingerprint, which is kind of interesting. And that would include things like gesture and other structures. So gesture would and other things like that. Let me pause for a sec. I'm blabbing. Any questions on all this stuff I'm showing, or I'm just rambling on a Thursday here?
You're going really fast, Ruf. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions here. So it seems like with plugins, first of all, there's some overlap with some core features that are already in RuFlow, in your agent skills and commands of RuFlow. When would you use a plugin versus, why are you switching stuff to plugins? Seems like you're adding some new features too, but why would you use one versus the other?
And if I can extend that question, if you're using the plugins, do you need to install it via npx also, or is it, just the plugin system?
You don't. Well, that's what's interesting. Oh, so two questions. The first is, why would you use a plugin, versus using the RuFlow directly? Now, the plugin, we're in the world of Claude at this point. Everybody is using Claude, and we can swim against the current and say, I'm going to create my own open Claude or this or that. Nobody wants to use that. So what I'm saying is friction. And for me, it was like, well, it was originally called Claude Flow in the first place, but the friction of creating a system that sits adjacent versus is interwoven into, which the plugin system allows me to do better. So to Peter's question, and it is, the structure of that, is essentially an MCP. So when you install that marketplace.json file, what's actually happening is it's cloning a GitHub repo and then using the GitHub repo within the structure of your plugin, which generally starts with an MCP. The good news is every single one of my projects essentially uses an MCP style CLI as the core interface to whatever it is that I'm building. So that means that I can, if I'm doing a Rust-based project, I can now say, the only reason I used the NPM as a delivery mechanism is nobody was really familiar with Rust, so NPM was easier and more accessible, so it was low friction. But now I've got the ability for people to basically take this marketplace file and import my entire GitHub, irrespective of the code base. I now have full control. So if you get RuVector, you get everything that's in RuVector, not just the subset that I've sort of compiled specifically to be distributed as an NPM, which was always a pain in the ass because there was breakage between what I originally built in Rust, the WASM, or the nappy RS file that was basically replacing the runtime, and what worked perfectly in Rust had to be tweaked a bit, and that's where the bugs always came from. This solves that problem. I don't need a secondary system, NPM in this case, I can just do native Rust, which is my preference.
So that means that, that will be, a release for everybody, because the pain now is that there are so many packages to put together. Most of the times, there's always something no wired, and the whole thing goes back to fallback. So, and you don't even realize it. So the thing is, will this implementation will take the whole package, let's say RuVector, and make it work? I don't see it how, but
yeah,
how
it makes it work in two parts. One, you're getting the entire GitHub repo in a kind of cached format. So once you've got that, the skills, the commands, and so on are essentially just saying how to build it, right? So if you're delivering a kind of Rust environment, it's going to know how to build and use it natively without having to worry about compilations and other things, because it's good at kind of abstract building of things, where if you're trying to build for every environment, you always had to use a build for that environment, like Mac or Windows or Linux or whatever, and then that would cause differences between those environments. You're explicitly building for those environments. What this does, it says, I'm going to let Claude figure out how to build for this environment. And if there's things that need to change or be adapted because it's a certain type of machine or operating environment, Claude has the ability to figure that out and build it specifically for the requirements of that environment. So I no longer have to go and say, build this for Mac, build this for Linux. It's just go let Claude figure out how to build it and just give it the instructions on generally how it needs to be built.
But we'll still have the nappies and the wasms and everything, so it will pick up whatever it needs somehow.
Yeah, well, so the nappy RS is the trick. So nappy RS is basic in Node. You have the ability to replace the native runtime, which is based on Chromium or a V8 engine, Chrome V8 engine, which is essentially the JavaScript runtime of Chrome. Now, what this allows us to do is remove that and change that with C or Rust sort of runtime. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a runtime specifically within Node for my particular application, which is actually kind of crazy when you think about it. And it only exists to optimize for the particulars of RuVector in this case. Now, to do that, I have to compile it for each environment. There's a Mac version, there's a Windows version, and there's a Linux version. There's actually potentially two Mac versions, depending if I do ARM or Linux.
Yep.
And I have to compile for each of those. And I've got CI/CD that does that. Whenever I push to main, it creates those runtimes, and then I update the files, and it's all part of a sort of continuous integration. So it just kind of magically happens. But there's always those are the spots that seem to find the bugs.
Mhm.
Are you planning to
another-
move to this plugin as the way to install RuFlow and not using the old curl command?
No, I'm keeping all that.
You're keeping both. Okay.
Yeah, I'm keeping that. What I'm doing now is I'm using it as a delivery mechanism, one of many options. And what I'm suggesting is, I think over the next year or so, there's going to be the Claude and related tools are likely going to be the primary onboarding for most any applications being created right now. And if you look at the things that are being built and the popularity of some of the things that I'm doing, we suddenly have this new influx of people who, for the first time, have the ability to build and create using code by asking Claude or Codex or open code or whatever it is that they're using. And that opens up a market that was probably 30 to maybe 100 million people last year to potentially billions of people next year. Right? And you see that in the influx of things like stars and traffic on GitHub. GitHub's become this it's become the social network of 2026, right? Because everyone's showing their vibe coded something there, like they're starring and but it's I think it shows the fundamental change that we're going through in terms of, I don't know what you want to call it, the democratization of coding. Deck, you had a question?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to know, maybe you're familiar or you have any plans for supporting codecs the same way? I mean, I'm not familiar with codecs mechanism there.
I do. I support so remember when I was saying these sort of adjacent to Codex and open code and several others. It works great with GitHub. I usually get, not GitHub, Copilot. So a lot of people use it with Copilot. Now the native integration with the plugin just makes it a little easier, but you can basically point any of your favorite sort of coding tools at it and say something like optimize my environment to use the RuFlow system. And literally it'll go and it'll start you, and depending on the nuance of the agent system that you're asking. So, Copilot, for example, it knows itself well enough to figure out how to create the integration with itself in RuFlow. And I did that through CLI related integration. I've got it through MCP related integration. MCP generally is the best. It's the fastest, it's the easiest, and most things support it. And then I've got it through SDK integration. The SDK integration would be like, I want to put this in the heart of my application and, build all the various parts. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. So what that's
if I can, plumb the question some more, because it's not a question of whether it's still possible to install it in a different way. The question actually is, if I'm installing it through the plugins, do I need to do anything else to have the full RuFlow? Because when I was asking Claude about it, following the traditional just point Claude edit, it said that some of the stuff is actually not activated just through the plugin system, because it says it doesn't start the daemon that actually has the 12 auto-triggered workers and the agentdb persistence files. I'm quoting here from the screen, right? So it's clearly suggesting, truly or not, that not everything is in the plugins in the plugin package system, or however we term it. So
the daemon, remember, the daemon is specific to your environment. So the daemon runs all the time. You're depending on your Mac or whatever, you're gonna have to get Claude to set it up. It's not just like start kind of thing. But generally speaking, the biggest challenge I have with Claude is the fact that it doesn't believe certain things that are actually functional to be in the realm of possible, and then denies the fact that it works. And I see this all the time. RuVector is full of that, right? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And I'm like, yes, it does. And then of course, because it's a sycophantic system, oh, you're totally right. So the challenge is always going to be whether or not the response to whatever it's telling you, true or not, is true, and having some form of validation of that. And when you look at
you are the validator, so that's why we're asking.
Yeah, well, when you look at the pushback I get on RuView now, half the world thinks it's an elaborate scam because I didn't create an AI video that faked it so it would go viral. I showed it what it actually looked like, and they're like, oh, it's bullshit. But the question is, is it bullshit because they couldn't get it to work, and then they asked the system basically stupid questions? It says, you're right, it totally doesn't work, or they just didn't know what they were, what the right questions even ask were. Here, let me see if I'm going to turn off my camera 1 sec. I'm going to see if I can get this working. Let me see if I've got a new face scanner. Check this out. Here we go. I yesterday I had both videos going, but so this is working off the ESP. So this is me, my face. I move my eyes, and it's a point map. So what this is doing, and you can try this. I'll pop this in the you have to turn your video camera on to do it, but I'm going to put this in the text here. So what this is doing, this is using a CNN. So this is most of the camera. Now, apparently adding the ability to have a camera, makes it real for, I think, 30% or whoever, like the folks that are sort of complaining. But anyway, this is me moving you can't see me moving because I turn my video camera off, but I'm moving my head around and I move my mouth, my eyes. I can do this, on any part. I can do this for your entire part of your body. But the reason I did the face, obviously, was I didn't want to creep people out by doing the entire body. So, but you can change this up and do other parts, of anatomy, systems, the dimensions of a room, whatever it is. And then you can connect it to your ECP32. So in this case, I've got an ESP32 plugged in. I plug that in. Oh no, it's not on. I'm hacking it at the moment, probably. Let's go back here. So now I can combine various inputs and so on. But anyway, yeah, this is doing better than ever as well. This is all built on the seed though. So basically, you're gonna go in here, and again, I'm the reason I'm telling you about sort of fighting the it's not possible. It is possible, obviously. I'm showing, but what can I do with the attached seed? Now that's it. That's really all you're going to ask. And now you could go to a few places. You go here, the main store here. These are all the API components it needs to see. Now there's an MCP for this as well, so you can actually add this as an MCP. So what can I do? Attach these together and add the MCP to the to Claude, like that. So everything you have in this is essentially an MCP that attaches to your computer. So as soon as you plug it in, you get the API, the MCP, and a Linux environment that you can kind of massage and modify as well. You can upload files to it. You can SSH into it. You can put Tailscale on it. I put Tailscale on mine. It's kind of cool. And then I can like basically have it as part of my network. So things like that. But I'm giving you basically a tiny little Linux operating system with a bunch of root vector components, integrated and working in it. Then we get the framework. This allows us to test the connection. I can see that it's working. I'm connected. That's in the framework link here. You could, I sound a little crazy. You could do anything you want with it. It's one of those like, but
Ruf,
but just don't ask me kind of thing. Yeah.
Ruf, can I check a question on your example you gave before about the beehive? So you mentioned about putting the ESP32 and the sensor alongside the seed device. Obviously, I'm not used hardware before, but are you seeing, so the seed device has the compute layer in it. So we would in a setup, it will have the sensor device, which is ESP32 kind of linked up or through a USB cable or something with the seed device.
Yeah. Well, the ESP30. The reason I like ESP32s is they actually use Wi-Fi. So the architecture inside this essentially allows us to create mesh Wi-Fi networks. Now, the mesh Wi-Fi network is based on LoRa. So what that allows me to do is not always broadcast the Wi-Fi signal. I can do bursts. So the system is dormant. It's waiting for things to fit within the structure of what's important. For NeuroTrade or stock trading, for federated learning or whatever it needs to do, it's got different components it can learn to do. Safety is a good example. So audit trails, behavior profiles. So when something's outside of the realm of its normal sort of operating environment for behavior, someone's acting erratic, or they're looks like they might be drug overdosing or fighting or whatever it needs to be, the system will then pop into and take a look, and it sends that through the sort of Wi-Fi capability. So the ESP32 also has Wi-Fi that can be part of that same mesh network, each lying dormant, waiting and communicating with each other only when and if they need to, but instantly starting and being awake. It's going from not awake to awake in microseconds, and that's the key. Because it's dormant during the periods, it doesn't need to be continually querying, asking, am I there yet, in that sort of loop style you see. That allows the system to essentially be sort of positive in terms of energy consumption. So let's say you needed to attach it to a solar cell. Most mini computers, you have more power draw than the solar cell can give it in a 24-hour period, because essentially a typical CPU just runs and runs and runs, and it's kind of like an engine, right? But in this architecture, the system isn't always running. So all those blank sort of, it's not like it's not running, it's running at a lower megahertz. So I tone the overall sort of clock rate of the machine way down, so it's just above the point in which it's kind of sleeping or hibernating, and then instantly I'm able to overclock it back or even higher to do what it needs to do. And that reduces the power consumption by 70%, that's enough to put a little solar cell on it and have it basically running forever, without any power source. It's all related. But the biggest power draw in any of these systems is always Wi-Fi. So that was a long and convoluted way to answer your question. Let me turn on my video again.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me send you this point cloud thing. Did I put that in there? Let's see here. Yeah, so anyway, the TikTok generation loves that review thing. It keeps making the rounds over and over and over again. What else we got here, guys? I can jump into any. I'm just kind of winging it here a little bit today. Any questions, comments?
Yeah.
Hey, Rube, I have another one about the seed and neural trader. So I completely get the seed applications with the ESP32 as kind of a disconnected device and way to use RuVector with the various Wi-Fi dense pods. I get that, but for the neural trader, how exactly are you using that, and how does it add value beyond what you can do process on your computer on your desktop or server?
I could feed it other information streams. For example, I could have it watch CNN or CNBC television stream. I could stream the output to it, separate signals, do behavioral analysis. I could, for example, if I was in a place where they had over-the-air broadcasting, I could look at that and use different signals from that. It's meant to be an introduction to the RuVector ecosystem. Like, the real brains of the system are forthcoming. They're going to be on the appliance that I will launch here in the next bit. That'll be the brain. These are the arms. Yeah. These are the nervous systems that connect. So you're seeing the connective tissue before the brain has been released. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
So saying in other words, so the future device could effectively replace your computer or your server. But this 100%. Device,
this won't. This is just a sensor input.
Yeah, so it's really a sensor. But so if you have edge information that you want to collect locally,
let's say I was at the dentist yesterday, and I'm looking at his device, and I'm asking my dentist. He's a great guy. I'm like, what's the frequency of changes you have to make to these devices you have? And he's telling me that there's wear and tear on them, and basically what we figured out was the frequency in terms of the harmonics that the machines put out when you're moving them up and down and doing various things can directly determine whether the systems need to be repaired and do that proactively. So the problem he faces is he only really realizes something's broken after it breaks, which means that the system's then out of commission during the time it takes them to get it fixed. But if you look at a system like that from the point of view of like a seed and some sensors, you could have these, unintrusively in the room, monitoring the frequency of these various dental devices and saying the harmonic has changed over the last week by 0.01%, which might indicate that there's something, potentially wrong with it. Then taking a step further, you could use the sort of Wi-Fi related CSI to pinpoint the exact part that down to like micro inches. And if you're depending on the type of wavelength you're using, you could get down to femtoscale, right? It's subatomic. So everything from does it vibrate to where does the vibrate emanate from can be defined within this kind of electromagnetic sphere. And that's just one random conversation I had yesterday about dentists. Now imagine that across every industry.
Yeah, and I see those kinds of applications. It was really, my question was for a neural trader. I think the things that you said, why would I do that with the seed rather than just directly in a computer or server? If I'm doing any of this kind of feed.
Yeah. The number one thing I think you do right now, if you're looking at NeuroTrader, again, not financial advice, blah, 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 but is RuVector works really well with satellite data, which is freely available on the internet. You can get almost real-time views of ports. You can understand the structure of agriculture, different resources, different things like that. And you can get that fed to a second brain in almost daily basis at this point. And that's using the, what they call it, the wet sort of common crawl. Once you've got that data, you essentially know what the hedge funds know, and you potentially know faster than they know because you're doing it on a daily basis. The system essentially helps you to do a witness chain. So in that scenario, what it's doing is it's grounding. So it's acting as a cryptographic signature of each of the steps, no matter how complex, had to have taken place to make that simulation or understanding happen within the vector space. So this basically offloads that and makes it deterministic. So you don't have to worry about your computer. You don't have to run a dedicated agent that sort of does it on a loop in Claude. This is always working on directly on the sort of hardware itself. Now, for certain applications, you don't need that level of specificity or understanding, but for things involving finance, when things involving time, temporal related things, having a secondary form of sort of bounding and understanding helps operate that application on a longer scale, because most of the things don't need to do anything, right? It's good for it's hard to explain a little bit, but it grounds and bounds the trading algorithm. Now, you can hypothetically do that, obviously, on your desktop as well. So it may not be the ideal application for that, for sure, but it is possible. And I'm going to be honest, it's a seed. It's meant to introduce the world to RuVector. Right. So some of the things you're familiar with, you're already familiar with. You played with my toys. You understand how they work. You don't need to be sold the Kool-Aid. But for others, this is the first time they've seen an agentic system built on my sort of contrastive AI approach. So it also adds a kind of follow the yellow brick road avenue for me.
So just kind of thinking out loud with you and kind of helping you with Cognitum. The applications that you can't do on your computer, right? Like where you literally have to have some kind of computer connected to the ESP32s to be able to do it. Now you don't need that. You can just have the seed and an ESP32. Those are the killer apps.
Plentiful.
Yeah.
And there's probably millions.
Millions of those, exactly.
You could put these in a field, and it could literally monitor every single corn stalk.
Yeah.
Every single piece of corn on every single corn stalk. And you're talking commodity stuff that the ESP32s are dirt cheap. These they can support thousands of ESP32s. Spread them throughout the field, and suddenly you're doing hyper local crop monitoring, right? Just anything that involves, again, think of agents in the real world, or in intelligence that sort of is part of the fabric of actual reality. Stu, did Stu have a question? I think I heard him earlier. How are you around, or did I lose him? What else do we got here? Dragon, I saw you posted something.
Yeah, I'm helping and answering on some of the questions.
Yeah, what we're gonna do next week is we're gonna do a formal 101. I'm winging it this week. I didn't have time to prepare today, and my computer crashed. But next week we'll do a 101, and Dragon can help. We'll put together a little presentation. We'll record it and get you all up and running. What are your thoughts, Dragon? You're pretty familiar with the system. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I'm. It's yeah, it's a proxy between the sensors. So it provides. I'm going back to the agent definition that you gave, I think, for the agentic engineering class. So in this case, really, on the seed, you have an agent that listens to different sensors, and you expose these sensors using either ESP32 or different, type of sensors that you can connect to that seed. And then seeds can connect into meshes. And now when the V0 appliance came, that will be like a central brain where the seeds are like delivery points, or like points that are collecting the data and sending the data into the central hub. That's how I understand the system.
Perfect. Because that's what the system does.
So can I jump? Can I jump in for
Yeah.
a sec?
Sure. How's it going, Brian?
Good. So I guess I was lucky since I'm Midtown Toronto, so I'm probably the closest maybe in geography to Roof. So I got mine on the 25th, and
You were the first. Brian is patient zero. He was you were the first to get one. So congrats on that. Yeah.
so that's great. I'm probably in terms of technical ability, I probably should have been sort of the 150,000th person to get it, but I have gone through, and I'm looking forward to the webinar next week, because when I went to install, some of the stuff may have been because I don't have the technical capabilities of the people on this call, but I wanted to try it out, so that I have taken 60 screenshots of the install at various points.
Oh, great.
And some of it may be because I'm using a Windows machine, but when I plug the seed in, it automatically comes up and says that there's an error message on it, which
Like I built mine on Windows as well.
oh, did you?
Send me your screenshot.
I'll send you that.
The trick when you're starting it, when you plug it in, is or let me show you guys. Zach.
So Dragon said I may have gotten an earlier firmware version, but
possibly, yeah.
But yeah.
If you're number one, you might have got the oldest firmware.
Yeah.
I can help you get going on that. But see, you got a cognitive C drive. This is a write or a sort of read-only drive. Then you've got open and guide basically, and then you've got some. I create a CA if you want to use the SSL version. You can go in here and install if you're on Mac, the trust command or trust install, and that's going to install the CA.
Yeah, I've gone all that, and like right now it says it's paired, it's connected, so it's live, and it's telling me my temperature and all that good stuff. So it's 40.2 C, and I've got 310 epoch, 113 live vectors. So it's but yeah, I'm going to send you that. I'll send you that the set of screenshots. The big one for me was that as I was going through the Windows with Windows, I guess there was an incompatibility on the was it NDIS or something like that? So I'll send that across. But
MDNS, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the MDNS is problematic on Windows, and that's a Windows. Microsoft doesn't know what they're doing problem, not mine. So
yeah.
Yeah, just to be clear. So and I've gotten pretty good at navigating the complexities of Mac sort of networking in Windows. So you've got a couple different ways to interact with the system here. So this is currently unencrypted. This is like every Wi-Fi router ever. But I'm a guy that doesn't like running unencrypted. So you can also go to the encrypted version, which is under the port 8443. That allows us to run with SSL. Okay. For some reason that's not working at the moment, but yeah, that allows you usually to run with SSL. Maybe I did the wrong URL or something. And then there's the Cognitum Local. Cognitum.local.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Cognitum.local is the MDNS. The MDNS again is essentially I created a sort of private network within the structure of this, both for the mesh and for sort of access to the tool. So there's a lot of networking, needless to say, going on. You saw the SSL there a minute ago, didn't work. Maybe take a look at what's going on there.
Yeah, so I'll forward that across because I felt, and thanks for the offer of initially of getting it, of stepping on and setting up. But what I thought was probably more instructive was to just go through on the basis of, somebody with very limited technical ability. And that way
Yeah,
you'll know what
can
some of the
you
stuff is. Yeah.
can you can you reach out to Dragon?
Yep, I definitely will. And the
Yeah,
other thing,
you're perfect. You know.
so what I did too is so I documented it, and then I threw it, thanks to Claude, I threw it all into Claude and asked it to put together. So it put together a spreadsheet of all the messages and to explain to me what it meant in non-technical or limited technical things. And it actually, I think, did a pretty good job. And as I mentioned on the chat session, the one that sort of kept coming up was this broken chain thing. And I wasn't sure whether that was something, what it thought was that it happened because when I was trying to do these various workarounds through Windows, that it might have.
Did you put your Wi-Fi network and password in?
I think I have, yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
So.
It could be a number of things, but you know,
we
were
had
the
a bug.
one.
We had a bug with Witter's chain, so you know, if you started that before the releases yesterday,
sounds like he hasn't done the OTA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there's an OTA. So what it means is you're using an old version. It's a collector's edition, but yeah, there's I don't know, probably 100 releases since that version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Right, and I'm not even exaggerating. There's a lot of releases, but
just reach out to me, you know, and send me. I can send you a contact.
Yeah. Okay. We'll help you through it.
Dragonet Cognitum. Let me see.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. So.
Well, and by the way, I really do appreciate all the support this community has given me, and you know, Brian, you know, the fact you bought something and didn't even know what it does. Really, I really do appreciate it. It's you know, you guys are the best.
So I'm glad you talked about the dentist thing because my wife, I said the package arrived, you know, on Amazon with some liquid hand soap in the box, and it was also that I bought at the same time. She said, "Well, what's this thing?" And I said, "Well, I'm not really sure what I bought. I know it's going to be great, but I don't really know." So now when I can say to her, "Well, if you know, went to the dentist and the drill didn't sound quite right, I could tell the guy, hey, use this to figure out how to work it properly or how to get it fixed." So that's
we could do all kinds of things. We could do a citizen sensor network. Like if you get enough people with this on their phone, we could literally have a network of people that can detect faults in a subway system by traveling on the subway system and collectively sharing all the information in terms of harmonics and other vibrations as they travel together on the subway. You know, there's so many different crazy things we can do. It's, you know, it's exciting to explore. It's a whole new world of opportunity in the real world. And I've got to jump to my next call, but the takeaway is this: you know, the internet is saturated with you know, AI slop and things that anyone can build anything. The real world is a green field of opportunities because nobody's taken the step really beyond this kind of online AI world to see what we could do in the real world using these types of technologies. And that is ultimately what I'm excited by. I gotta go.
Thank you.
Again, thanks for everyone's support today, and we'll be doing the AI Hackerspace tomorrow. I'm not sure if anyone's else sticking around because I think Martin's running it, so you guys can stay on here as long as you like. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I have to go too. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. I was curious, like the last example that was given of using it on the phone, how would it happen? It's still a device, so you have to connect the device to the phone and carry along. Is that how it will happen?
So now my assumption, because it can connect to the Wi-Fi, so over Wi-Fi to your phone.
So then, okay.
So if you're sharing the same network, for instance, in your house, you can connect the device to your phone. I think even Claude can, ask Claude on your phone to connect to the device. That should be probably. Now I'm, thinking out loud and assuming a lot of things before trying them, but that's how I would, try it.
what have you built?
I bought this ESP32 development kit. Well, it's just a board. I think you can see it there. But am I supposed to physically plug it in?
This is the, you know, I have like this is like a ESP32 S3 board.
Yeah.
So that board,
what am I doing with it?
Connect to the USB first to your computer. And you need to install ESP32 firmware from the RuView. I will send you now the link, guys, what you should install. Ask your cloud to install on the device. So let me just find
This is the generic ESP32, not the, we say Cognitum device is different.
No. That's the ESP32 provides sensors to the seed device. So that's how, you know, ESP32, so the seed is like a small computer, Raspberry Pi, with the seed software on it. And then that seed connects to your Mac using, or your laptop using USB, first to configure it. And then you can connect it anywhere just on power, because when it connects, once connects to the Wi-Fi in your home, you know, I'm setting it in my home, I can disconnect it from my laptop and connect it anywhere, just run on the power.
Do you already know some like good model that works in a USB-C and could be used so that we don't need to? I think that Martin showed something like what was like with the pins instead of a USB connection.
Yeah, this is the this is an ESP.
There is like a USB-C connection on it.
Yeah. So does this have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on it as well?
Yes. These devices also have the Wi-Fi on them.
Okay, so I'm just using
once you connect them,
Yes. But there are like tens of pins in Martin's version, and I don't see in the image that you have like a
no. I have on this device. So this is the seed device now unpacked. It comes with you know, plastic packaging, because I need to constantly work with the memory cards and update the software. I unpack them so I can access it easier.
Okay.
So how I'm doing, so this is this is the packed version of the device, and it has like a, you know, again, exposed pins, because you can connect using pins directly, you know, one to another, and in that way they don't need a Wi-Fi connection to talk. So they can be like physically connected. I just received like a bunch of cables and things, so I'm you know, boards I'm starting to play, you know, and connect. So I added like cameras, small displays, you know. My, you know, package from AliExpress just came with different types of.
You're feeling like a kid again, no?
Yes, yes.
Look at all the stuff my kid got.
in a candy store.
I couldn't figure out for him.
and there is like a labor, you know, holiday. 1st of May coming, you know, and I need to spend it like outside with a barbecue and friends, and I'm just waiting to come back and play with this. So. Going back to the answer, the question. So first, when you get the seed, connect that to the USB and give it like 2 or 3 minutes. So initially, when you first start the seed, plug it in, it needs to boot up. So it needs to do the first boot for the software running, agent running on it. So you give it like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you can open either through the file explorer, as Rolf showed. So you will get like a drive recognized on your computer. So you can go there and click on the open.html file. That will automatically load and redirect you to that URL 169.254. And so it will automatically open the URL, and then you will be on the guide side. When you are on that, maybe I can show you that. Give a second. I'm just doing some share. Oh, looks like I can share. So oh, this is not private. I'm just testing also something with the certificates. Martin, I will get back to you. I need to check what's happening. So let me go back to the regular one and not the HTTP one. So on the guide side, when you first open, like where it is, Cognitum. So here, open.html, and it will open the same page. So that's how it will, redirect you to open that page. When you're on this page, you can, try to run and ingest some sample vectors or check the device status. But first thing you should do is go in the left menu to the Wi-Fi setup and scan for networks, connect to your local network. Once you're connected, it will save connection, and then after that, so this is your first time connecting, and you can wait then for 6 hours to get the new version deployed to your system. So how we implemented it: after you first connect, you can wait either 6 hours to get the new version, or you can disconnect the device, connect it back, like reboot the agent, give it 2-3 minutes, and it will automatically pull now the newest version using the online OTA and install it. But just you need to wait like again 2 or 3 minutes for the process to finish, and then you can verify that you're running on the new version. So when you're on the guide page, API Explorer gives you like access to all the APIs on the seed, and here just use this, right now, like this is the latest firmware version. So for those that get the seed, there will be a number of releases happening. So from here, and yeah, if your, for instance, seed is not paired, and it is now paired, but on the from the guide side, you can open pair window from here and then pair it also from the API side. So I now got like a new token I can use and give this token, for instance, or this is something that Claude would automatically do if I direct it to the page.
Hang on, you said paired from the guide side and then paired from the API side.
No need. Either pair from here, or you can pair from here. No need to pair from both sides.
When you say pair, what do you mean by pairing?
It will connect. So now we did it that it will automatically connect to the device and pair with it, meaning that this browser instance running now is paired and using the token to talk with your agent on the seed. Okay, that's the similar process. You ask Claude, okay, go read me guide page and pair with my seed, and then you can direct it. You don't even need to do this manually. You can just give your Claude this page and say, okay, go and read about what I can do with the seed and connect me to my Wi-Fi. This is the SSID to use. What's the access point name in your home? And this is the password. Provided with the access name and password, you can, if you don't want to go and find this by yourself, you can always direct your Claude to set it up for you.
Okay. So basically follow Jed's advice of asking Claude to do it.
Yeah. But no, this is now, I think it's intended now. And as Ruben mentioned at the beginning, so Claude is now interface. And each user can build their own UI on top of it. What Seed provides is MCP access for the data and sensor data collected using it.
The seed device effectively is the deployment, and basically is the RuVector
Yes.
code
Yes.
working.
Yes. RVF, really. So, you know,
RVF.
the compact version. So in the RVF file, the whole, so that status when we were looking and with the size of the file, let me, you know, share you again. That's the RVF file. So if we go here, you will see this store it's really the size of the RVR file right now with this much vectors in it.
How much memory? Sorry, what is the limit of storage on the SID device? Like, I'm asking from a point of view, like when we are obviously collecting data, does the data, I'm presuming,
I still need to test that. I you know, I already noticed some slowdown when it gets over like 300K vectors, and you know, the SD card provided is like a 64 gigabytes, so there is space as the operating system and everything is takes like I think every around 14 gigs. So there is like I think 50 gigs free for data, but that's a lot of data.
And the operating system is what? So is it some Linux?
It's a PyOS.
Okay.
PyOS with the seed software. Yeah.
Sorry to jump into the RuFlow.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried the new implementation from RuFlow, or it haven't released it yet? Then
Which the
6.12.
plugins?
Yeah, so he's trying to move to plugins now. I know he's gonna keep the other things, but
no, he's not trying. He's just providing another interface. So this
exactly.
is like just again for the other people to be able to easier access without need to invoke the install commands, and in this way, yeah, I think it's more convenient to invoke like that for users that are not technical. Yeah,
and especially now that like you say, everything is cloud code based. So
yes. Yeah, and I see Dmitry is asking question, and I see Martin has a hand. So maybe Martin, if this is related to the ESP32, I can, I wanted to continue on that topic.
No, it was
or
just
you have
SSH
some other
login.
questions.
So do the other one first. It's fine.
Okay, so the ESP32. So after setting up everything, and then the software. I need to send you the link for the software. Give me a second just to find it. Releases, review, releases. Here it is. Yeah. Ask Claude to download this and install a firmware for the ESP32. And then there is a Python bridge file. There is like a bridge py file that initially, when you start testing the first time connect the ESP32 to your computer and ask it to install the firmware, it will install the bridge file on your computer so you can check how the ESP32 is collecting the data first on your computer and test it like that. When you're done with setting up, then ask Claude to set up the bridge on your seed device and redirect the ESP32 to the IP address of the seed. In that way, you are creating a bridge between a seed and recommended, depending on what you want to do, like one or multiple ESP32 devices. So if you want to have that dense pose more precise, so you're using that cog RuView dense pose for detecting the motion and the person in the room, you should have at least 3 ESP32 devices connected on one seed to get the triangulation. I'm still testing that, so I have like a 3 ESP32, and I started connecting them to the seed, and yeah, testing that. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see your heart rate and your presence and this kind of things just by using the radio frequency waves. And I get now some new sensors like some health monitor and some microphone and cameras and things. So let's see how that will look like. Yes, Martin.
Okay, two questions. One is very simple. That it says SSH access. I try and log in and it asks me for a password. So there must be a password associated.
Password is cognitum.
Okay, let's see that anyway. All right, cog.
It is in the documentation, I think, somewhere.
Somewhere, yes, but not next to the login command. Cognitum. Okay, that bit worked. And then the MDNS bit didn't work for me. I don't know why.
I don't think you need that one unless you have multiple devices. There, MDNS is there for the mesh thing.
I see. Okay,
so if it's not working, for now it's okay until you get more devices.
Fine. And then the last question would be for the ESP32, which I just plugged in.
Okay.
Unlike the seed device, it doesn't pop up anything. So stupid question.
No. It will not pop up, but ask Claude to find it because it's connected on the USB and it's invisible in the file explorer, but it's visible on the USB network.
Okay. All right, fine. Thank you.
No problem. Scott, you have your hands up.
Hey, just when you are ready for a change of topics, I'd love to show what I'm doing and get some feedback or ideas. But when you guys are ready.
I don't know if somebody has some more questions, you can always find me later and let's see. I will try to join tomorrow RuFlow space also to answer additional questions, but I don't know after how many barbecue and beers during the day tomorrow what will be my state of mind in the evening, but let's see.
Shall I then? Or is
yes,
anybody else
please.
Questions about the seed?
Sorry, I've got another question about seed. What would be the first thing to try as without plugging into a piece of hardware?
You can try in just without ESP32, it will just have some synthetic data on it, and you can just play with those APIs there and ask your Claude what options it offers. But the
I guess
sensors ESP32 data provides the sensory data and then feeds the other cogs there. So you need to install the cogs. You have the cog store. You can install different cogs, and those cogs will then process the data collected from the ESP32.
Yeah, I should have had hardware set up before the webinar with Roof because it's all right. I'll go back and replay it and watch to see what he did with Claude. But thank you.
Okay.
When Ru was showing his face in the meeting, was he connecting the seed device to the laptop? I'm presuming that's what he was doing.
ESP32. That's the ESP32 device connected to the laptop.
And it's using the camera of the laptop.
It's combining. So the RuView demo, when you install it on your machine, offers you combination just to use the ESP32 like RF detection or camera on your laptop, and you can combine those two to get the better detection, motion detection of the system. So it's camera plus the ESP32 to give it like a better detection. Or maybe he did something different. I'm now telling about the demo that I tried myself when I was first installing RuView and setting up the ESP32.
You did not have the Cognitum device then, you did it directly?
No. Just on my Mac.
Thank you, Dragon, and thank you guys. I'll see you later. Okay, I have to go.
Bye, Jose. Scott, let's see first if somebody else has any questions. First time, second time, sold. Scott, the stage is yours.
Thanks. It's a tough act to follow, but I'll try. Exciting with all the devices shipping, right? Let's share my screen. Everybody, you can see that? That works. Let me get this guy over here. Yeah, I'll just do a quick intro to it to get everybody. I think some of you have seen what I've been working on, others haven't. So Tacit is the product I've been working on, and it's a silent understanding of all your work. It has come a long ways in the last 4 or 5 months or 4 or 5 weeks. A bit about me, if you don't know me, so my background's in human biomechanics and physiology. So for some 25 years, I've been developing research, testing, and some executive management around building sensor-based systems. So today's discussion is very apropos, and I have mine delivered as of yesterday. So I will be diving into what the board can do and RFYs. With that too, you'll kind of see how that fits into how I think about this product Tacit. And, I'm happy to be, love playing a part of this community, and just want to share what I'm doing, my journey, and just always looking for collaborators too. How I build out the way, so I have anti-gravity as my IDE. I use Gemini Research a lot for architecture, software system research, so deep research, looking into state-of-the-art things, sometimes go deeper into that. Coding's pretty much Anthropic through Cloud Code and RuFlow then, and GLM I offset tokens with when I can. So yeah, orchestrations all RuFlow, and then AgenticQA as part of that whole piece, right? So I've built out then in order to go from endless bug bashing last year with Windsurf, of going kind of, and then just giving up on projects, to now completing end-to-end systems by bringing all these pieces together to go from a brief to a roadmap within that brief, implementation plan, to that swarm execution, QE review, eval, and iterate, and just do these as loops in the development. Tacit itself is pretty, I look at it from 2 perspectives. One is, hey, we know what we're building, right? But we can't always see how it all connects. So an alignment's a thing. So whether that's in an organization where you have 60 people working on a product, or if it's a one-man show like I'm doing on the product right now, just organizing this much information as it gets more complex. So you start thinking about marketing, everything Ruth's thinking about with the boards and the products themselves too, right? So this is to help connect, as well as the origin of really the essence of Tacit is that we spend a lot of time finding information, managing it, planning it. It's also with different people, so we have to meet with them, or we ask them where it is, and so on. So we're spending a lot of executive function management, planning, etc., and doing that mental energy work. And so trying to get Tacit so it relieves that cognitive load and get us more into a flow state. Yeah, so that is one environment then, right? So to bring all knowledge, all information, notes, and things into one place. It's chronicle based, so it has basically time series data of a lot of what you're doing that gets recorded in Tacit. And then it, you have ways of interfacing the knowledge to yourself and to other people on the team. So it's from fragmented to, coherent knowledge. So very much getting the vision is to get to a digital twin workstation. So something that's silent, persistent, self-learning. You'll see where I am today. That's probably a 2 or 3 year journey, depending on how much this AR curve goes, how good it gets. But as of today, we have a chronicle where there's that immutable knowledge layer, have a loom then that, can compose artifacts based on all that knowledge, and then an alignment period to keep a mental model to help organize all the information. That alignment period goes top down, like a lot of organizations do. And I like how Asana publishes and links to their product, going from objectives to key results. And then you have portfolios, which are teams basically, or giant departments like engineering versus marketing. And then with them, the link to programs and project dossiers. And so that, I'll just kind of move ahead to not bore you guys to death, but replacing kind of multiple tools, right? Getting into one hierarchy from objective to dossier, seeing ancestry, AI rights specific to what's in your knowledge base, and so on. So I think then let me switch and I'll show you. Yeah, I think that you can still see. So it brought up Tacit now. I don't see what I'm sharing.
You see a brown screen with Tacit on it?
Yep. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. So Tacit then has multiple workspaces. So right now it's in a testing workspace. So I'm going to switch then to a product workspace, which is for Tacit itself, as I want to work on. And so I'll use the user journey of working on a product positioning deck. And so in that, I can go to synthesis. In here, I go to ask. Within, it has a number of articles, a number of chronicle events stored in it. So I want to start making this product positioning deck. So to get into this, I first, want to write out a document to get that thinking and not jump straight to slides. Based on what's in here, there's already the objective or portfolios, programs, and in that there's one project for doing the product positioning deck. And so for that product positioning, what's first top of mind here is we have competitors. And so namely Notion and MEM. So now I'm going to ask, I've scoped what I did in that scope. I said, basically for that knowledge that's stored, I created a dossier of knowledge. So basically think of it as a number of documents, a few documents related to product positioning. And now I said, just use that dossier and write a positioning paper relative to competitors, Notion and MEM. And so now it is going through the synthesis of that. And that enabling technology is RuVector, vector graphing, the search and retrieval, augmented generation, built-in agentic orchestration as well. So that's been an add the last 4 weeks as I have 2 systems in there. One is the Anthropic SDK, and the other is Crew AI. So we can see, now preamble, right? Found the 2 relevant entries. So a pre-marketing brief and a market sizing it felt was relevant, which makes sense. And it's written out, I've done this before, of course, writes out then a nice positioning paper against MEM, against Notion, add some context on the market context, and so on. And so then it provides these citations as well, where it sourced that information. And I can find those and check if I want to double check, hey, that doesn't look quite right, or so on. I can then save this as an artifact. I want to save it then in my go-to-market portfolio and my pre-launch marketing program. So I'll save that. And then I can go and I'll show you then, now I want to add to it. So that gives me a start. So I can find it. There's multiple ways I can find it. This is a bit of a shortcut. So here it's showing up already. So now I'm in the editor, right? And in here, I can go here, cruise through it, but I'll just add at the top here. Okay, now here's where I can then I have it standardized in the ask of what it does as far as agents go. but I can go between if I want to use the Claude SDK or I go QFHjKA. And then one of the goals of doing that was got a little scared of being locked into Claude. And so with QFHjKA, I can use multiple models and so on, as well as now I got it built in. I could use any kind of add other agents and systems and models to make it vendor agnostic. I want to add then, say for this example, summarize our product, our at product. So the at command gives me access to the documents as well. So I can summarize our at product roadmap. I want to see that's going to align to this paper and start to work on it or add it as a section if you like, to align to our product. Positioning. Okay, and then it's now using the QFHjKA loop. What's enabling there's actually two things now when I'm into this writing is thanks to Chris's work on cloning, I got ideas then, okay, I want to clone the writer's voice. And so what I've done is I've given it samples of my writing and it runs a synthesis on how I write. So looking at different fingerprinting of it and then creates that fingerprint. And now as it's doing this React loop, it's going to generate it basically in my voice instead of using a standard LLM voice. Of course, you can play with that, add whatever kind of fingerprinting you want. The other piece is in here too is I built in skill-based playbooks. It's not quite in the UI yet, it's in the back end, but I have a UI started. But basically where the user can write their own playbook, say if they want to use a certain marketing style or market positioning framework or have a skill around just go-to markets and so on, they can create that skill-based playbook. And so what I have in here right now is a pretty generic one where it's just a writer skill and a researcher skill. So with the QFHjKA, the researcher's going and researching all the knowledge, and then the writer is using its skill to write what it wrote here, as well as use my voice. What are the paper below is ground. So yeah, so now it's now added the paper. I can accept if I like this or reject it, right? So it's updated. So current development phase, quarterly deliverables, and so on. And it still has the other piece around the Notion and mem competitive. So I can be more creative, but just for today, just did it to append, but you can weave it in as well or get it to rewrite the article. So now this save, I can save as a draft. I can retitle it. Let's just take this out. So positioning paper, I mark it as final. And so now marked as final, now it becomes in scope for other knowledge synthesis. I don't have drafts in scope. And it can, it belongs to that program and portfolio. So coming back then, so then now to this alignment, to that period, how it all ties together is, okay, I've established, hey, I wanted to do this product positioning work for some reason, right? So I have objective to establish Tacit as a category defining cognitive workstation, right? And we can see it's linked to the go-to-market program, which is in the marketing portfolio. And these are KRs, so secure 5 design partners, publish 10 pieces of thought leadership, and more can be added. And then we look at the portfolio, then it links then to the programs of work, right? So we want to work on community and partnerships, want to work on pre-launch marketing. So the marketing team's going to own that. And product positioning was one of those. how this gets built, then I built a builder. And so in here we have those objectives and portfolios. And then it breaks into the programs. And I think we were talking about pre-launch marketing. And I have, the positioning, product positioning deck in here as a project dossier. And you can see then here's where I made that dossier to include these 3 documents. So it had the marketing brief and the knowledge market sizing, as well as some user journeys in there. So that's what it referenced to write that paper. So that's how that is made. And then it's just, you put in the objectives, you can edit them, and then you can link them so they link to a certain portfolio, right? The same kind of links can be drawn between portfolios and programs so that that pyramid all aligns. And just for fun, there's a couple other ways to look at your objectives, what they relate to, who's working on what they're owning, or in a Sandkey setup where you can see it through the thread. And you can obviously have multiple portfolios or multiple teams working on the same objective in KRs. So that's where Tacit is.
But that's fascinating. I mean, the first thing that's coming to my mind is it replacement of SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework? Like with a concept, this framework that had done the rounds in non-public sector companies called SAFe, S-A-F, just small E in it, Scaled Agile Framework. Right. There were these whole frameworks. Like that's what I mean. The whole concept there was like from strategic themes, you come up with like this traditional stuff from strategic themes to release trains, portfolios, and what initiatives and all the release cycles and everything. What I see here is like what you were trying to do here is like you got a broad idea, and how do you track it down to the person who's doing it, if I have got it correctly in a very visual manner. So I see the opportunities not just as a product, probably, it's potentially could be a framework as well that this could become.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean one framework I really like is Asana's Pyramid of Clarity. So that's always influenced me over the years, and just with working with hardware and software, and different kind of complex organization around. You have designers, developers, hardware developers, cloud developer, architects, and so on. And organizing the work can get messy fast for program managers and project managers. But also too, as I found as I was developing Tacit, is I start losing track of, okay, what I should prioritize, right? And so this works really, I mean, I seeded this for sake of the demo, but this too, as I was building, I speak, okay, I need this so I can organize this for Tacit. So it really is designed to work for the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 person type kind of shop as well to organize your work.
I think for Mondoid's question is pertinent because a lot of organizations have spent millions of dollars aligning to SAFe, right? It is an authority in when we used to plan everything, the way you would structure all those teams would be through a massive framework such as SAFe, and kind of we don't do that now, because we can build faster than we can specify. So, a reasonable argument would be something like, well, what a silly way to do stuff when you can build faster than you can plan. But at least from a framing standpoint, you need to explain to somebody that SAFe has these disadvantages, but you also did point out that this is for small teams, so perhaps that's how you would approach the decision tree when someone comes to you. Say, well, this isn't for teams of teams of teams. This is simply for small teams, or a slightly bigger collection. Or you might say, because of the speed of turnaround, this is a more appropriate approach. That's how I see it. Is that where you're coming from, Mondoid?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from exactly, I think that point is to, if how do I best phrase it? I phrase it, I guess I'm phrasing it now. We're going to consulting territory here, right? So we've been like in a small group here. We've also been talking about like beyond the foundation, is there an agentics.consulting thing of an identity? Because many organizations are going to struggle to adopt AI, and for the reasons that Martin said, I mean, regulations, traceability of what is being done agentically, why you are doing in a particular way, those will still remain. So I'm just thinking like, is this something that we as a like, so again, first question is called like, is this tool like, I'm presuming it's proprietary, it's part of it, or is it kind of how, I don't know how you are structuring it, but yeah, but I was like thinking like, is this something that we should like test in the market? This concept of the fact planning isn't dead, right? Planning is still essential because you can't actually in a regulated industry go fully agentic unless you can trace like who's doing what, why. That isn't necessary. So I'm thinking like maybe this is an area of opportunity to explore to position agentic solutions better within such organizations. That's where I'm coming from, Martin. If that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean I'm sure other people have come to this realization that you can build faster than you can specify, but that also poses the question of what's out in the wild, right? And what risks does that present? Usually, risk management is there's a large proactive, like before we do something, let's consider it. But things get out so quickly, you should at least be able to assimilate your environment and post haste catalog what the issues are. Not sure why I said that, but it's random observation. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a vision or a bit of a dream. I get where you guys are coming from because, it's definitely been some of my thinking as I use obviously the agentic engineering to develop this itself. And so like, what is a lean approach that keeps you on track, right? And keeps you from drifting or just also reduces the cognitive workload of thinking, okay, I've got this feature to build, this one, backlog type lists, things like that. And yeah, initially, I think like I showed maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago, what I was doing with Tacit, basic knowledge base, and I was trying to make it very like agent based as far as, hey, you only need to prompt the agent and then, it'll do everything for you, right? And as I was going and as I was doing agentic development, right, my development is, hey, I still spend a lot of time thinking about the scope and the specs. And then I give it a design brief and then I launch into, a Spark methodology, right? But then still then I start doing missions, I start drifting maybe a little bit, focusing on something I shouldn't, I should stay more focused or forget why I started this feature and not that one, right? So that's how it's kind of evolved. So I think there is some really interesting medium there between, hey, just building and going to, how do you build on a path, right?
It's a great point. And usually, at least when I start, I've got a concept that I've tried to flesh out with a couple of rounds on a PRD, and then I go for it, and then there's ARDs all the way, right?
Yeah.
And perhaps if this is a method to visualize, what the original PRD said, and then maybe what the if I had started again after, like, say I've had 12 or in this case 67 ARDs, what would that product vision look like now? I think that would be useful to at least me, perhaps others also, because that's the notion of drift, right? And that comes back to like forgetting perhaps what your initial vision was, or not even necessarily forgetting what it was, but you've gotten, after having done those iterations, a clearer view of what is practical and useful because you've had other feedback.
Yeah, no, I love this feedback and discussion. Yeah, I mean, one that I'm always running into, I ran into with my former company was, but even with this, with Tacit, even though like I can obviously go and search for, hey, I wrote an origin story on Tacit. Hey, I wrote this LinkedIn post about this that I want to use. And I wrote, or I did this research on some kind of, marketing framework, that I want to use and build my narrative, for the product or for me in that story. And now say, okay, now I want to do a whole LinkedIn media plan, right? Now I'm trying to remember where all that stuff is, and I'm spending time going to find it. And then I'm going, oh yeah, I remember this or that. I should add this and that. And then all that time to aggregate it all. So that's definitely one of the use cases I'm trying to make that easier. What I just showed here that I didn't show. So with the Chronicle events, the different events then that you can record, but it also automatically records actions like saving a draft or composing something. But I can add like an agenda to a meeting. I can then add the minutes. So then it saves what the meeting was about, what we discussed. If there's any, independent of a meeting, I can add business decisions as an event. So say, hey, we decided to position it as a direct competitor to Notion, maybe as a business decision, and actions, so follow-up stuff. So that all then gets saved in the Chronicle. So I could actually go in to ask or compose if I wanted to create an artifact, say, hey, I want to write a brief for the meeting next week with this engineer and designer to explain, the last months of decisions, right? So, yeah.
How, I mean, is this something that you are using personally, or is it like something that you are rolling out to other organizations? Like, what is your vision?
Yeah, what's my goal with this? Yeah, I'd like to commercialize it or a piece of it. So I'm thinking of, I'm debating whether, hey, do I launch, making a license so people can use it for personal use, but then pay for commercial, or something like that, some version of that kind of licensing, and open to suggestions too. So, but yeah, that's where I want to go is to get it to launch. It needs a lot of hardening. I cleaned up a ton of bugs last couple of days, but there's a lot more of that to go. And also I need to bring in somebody that can help with deployment, with operations of it. And if I do, right now it's set up as a Docker, right? So it can do local deployment, but interested in offering like a paid cloud deployment as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Happy to help. Please feel free to reach. I guess one thought I had, like, once if it's in a state that is deployable, maybe some of us who want to can take it to our organizations and, basically do a bit of evangelizing. I mean, effectively, if people are, again, I'm going back to the fact that the community has got great products and people, and I guess we as a organization or as a group here beyond the foundation have the opportunity to think about how, we take some of these to market collectively.
Yeah, appreciate it. That would be great. Could use all the help I can get. So definitely will reach out when I'm ready for some, say, early testers who would like to try it out, and then we can see where it is and start taking to companies or make it a bigger beta.
Great. All right. I think we're well, certainly I need to go. I think we've been here 1 hour 50. So unless someone's got anything else they want to say, I'm just gonna thank everyone for being here. Scott, obviously, for your presentation at the end here. Yeah. Anything else? 3, 2, 1. Awesome. All right. Thanks all. Take care.
Thank you.